Hi guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Talk Elvis.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the things that happened from my side of the story. There's been a lot written and a lot said about what happened to me, but never from my side.
We are back at it after a little bit of a break. Thank you, school. We're back with a new episode today. We're going to be talking about why Elvis Presley matters. This has been something on my mind recently, and I actually posted about it the other day on Instagram. So if you want to read that post, go follow me on Instagram. But basically the essence of my thoughts of that day, I just, to this day, do not understand why Elvis fans are always seen as crazy people. Like, whenever you say like, oh yeah, I really love Elvis, people will just be like, oh, you know he's dead, right? It's like, okay, but so is like Marilyn Monroe. And I'm sure, right, if somebody was like, oh, I love Marilyn Monroe, love her style, love her movies, love, like, you know, her want to cut my hair like that, something, you know, people would be like, oh, that's so cool, like, she's iconic, all this other stuff. But when you talk about Elvis, or you say, I'm an Elvis fan, or I really like this Elvis song, then it's like, oh, but like, you know he's dead. Or like, oh, you mean the guy who died in the bathroom? Elvis fans are always somehow the butt of the joke because of the way that people understand Elvis. And honestly, the truth of the matter is they don't. Most people don't. They don't understand who he really was, and they don't understand the man outside of the image people have of him. The fact is that everybody knows who Elvis is, even if they don't like him. Everybody knows Elvis Presley or knows of Elvis Presley, and they probably know he's a singer. I'm going to quote Sally Hodel a lot in this episode because she constantly spits facts. She is a great person to talk to when you're thinking about this kind of topic, because she talks about it a lot in her book. And I wanted to say that I am gonna make a whole separate episode doing a book review on Destined to Die Young, because I talk about it a lot and I get a lot of questions on it, all this other stuff. So I am gonna be doing this soon, but I'm gonna be quoting her book a little bit today because there's just absolute gold, and how she explains stuff in here is just literally life-changing on the way that I now perceive people's idea of Elvis and why it's so screwed up. One of her quotes, she says, "He's become just an image. His humanity has been chipped away at. Elvis is as recognizable worldwide as Coca-Cola or Mickey Mouse, except he's a real person. He was a human being." Sally says, "It's fascinating how history seems to be ever-changing. One might think history is absolute since it happened in the past, and everyone knows on both a global and personal scale that the past cannot be changed. Upcoming generations tend to think that they have all the answers to what was right or wrong in the past, but often forget to take into account the human aspect. History, after all, is the story of humans, and humans are flawed. The greatest people in American history have had flaws that must be looked past momentarily, set aside by future generations. Otherwise, the greatness of those individuals will be lost. And Elvis isn't alone in this. All historical figures have had the burden of judgment from future generations placed upon them," which is very true. People like to judge, people like to pick apart, and people like to look at things from a sensationalized point of view, or else it's not interesting to them. So all that to say, I don't think I could sit here and make a 20, 30, whatever minute video and hit all the reasons why Elvis matters in this world, or why Elvis matters to me or to all of you guys. It's just not possible, and some things cannot be put into words. What most people think of when they think of Elvis Presley is drugs or women or dying in the bathroom, and that isn't enough. It's not enough, and it doesn't do him justice. I'm not sitting here trying to be acting like Elvis is God, or Elvis should be honored or praised, or like Elvis should be up on this high pedestal because he's done so much stuff and he deserves recognition. He didn't even think that way. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, you should bow down to Elvis Presley because you know what he did for this earth, girl. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I'm just going to take a step back and I am going to put it in simple terms. So Elvis is an historical figure. Here are some other examples of historical figures: George Washington, Martin Luther King Jr., Princess Diana, Henry Ford, Picasso, Marilyn Monroe, Anne Frank, Alexander Graham Bell. You get the point. What do these people have in common? Why are they historical figures? And what do they do? What have they done to make history books? And why do we still hear their names to this day? Because these people did something, or some things, that have ultimately changed our world. How people think, how people are able to function in society, how people feel about certain topics or certain ideas. These people changed history in one way or another. And I believe that Elvis belongs in that group of historical figures, people who changed history. His contributions to the music industry and culture and society have changed the world. But the people who weren't there to experience it or there to appreciate it rely on stories that have been passed down, rumors that have been passed down, myths that have been passed down, sensationalized, tellings of what had happened. They rely on those, and then they make up their own mind of how these people should be viewed within history. But what's more is that Elvis didn't just change music history. That's a huge part of his legacy, and probably, if people are going to believe anything about Elvis, they're just going to recognize, yeah, he was a pretty famous singer. But that isn't all that Elvis did. And this is the part that people fail to recognize. I can't even begin to sit here and imagine all of the lives that Elvis touched within his time on Earth, and also now. In 2021, the lives that he is changing, lives that he's impacting with his personality, his generosity, his kindness, his desire to help people and to impact people. He still continues to do that today. A humanitarian is defined as someone who actively seeks to promote and better human welfare. And I believe 100% that Elvis is one of the greatest humanitarians in history. Elvis's main goal in life was to provide, from his beginnings to his dying day. That was his goal. He wanted to provide, he wanted to take care of people, he wanted to help people, and he wanted to leave people with something that was meaningful. He would always say, I'm not doing enough, I'm not contributing enough, I'm not, they're gonna forget me, and if he could just see that he's so much more than an entertainer. He's so much more than a singer. He was a human being that, yes, like Sally said, had flaws, but everybody has flaws. Even people who are great historical figures like George Washington, or somebody who's placed on a really high regard for changing a big aspect of history. Everybody had flaws because everybody is human, and that is just the history of human nature. But Elvis Presley was a human being who brought so much more to this earth than just good music. He showed who he was, and anybody who knew Elvis Presley, anybody who knew him, will tell you that he was just a one in a million kind of guy. He was just, he stood out for being who he was. People who don't care to understand Elvis will never understand how much he's changed or impacted lives like mine, and how much happiness he's brought to people. That is one of the main things that you guys tell me on Instagram or in messages or comments or whatever, is whenever you're having a bad day, whenever things don't seem to go right, whenever, you need company or a friend or something, it's Elvis is there. And it's you sound crazy, and you're gonna sound crazy to people who don't understand, but Elvis is much more than that image. He's much more than the guy on stage who wore the jumpsuits, who had the sideburns, and who ate peanut butter and banana sandwiches. He's a human being, and to degrade him and to, like Sally said, just chip away at his humanity and degrade him down to just this image, this person that sang songs and died in the bathroom, is the biggest injustice, literally ever. Because not only did he just change the music industry, like, thank you, Elvis, because all the music we have today, you've impacted so many artists that sing today. Like, Elton John literally said, like, I would have never even, like, started in the music industry if it wasn't for Elvis, because he inspired me so much. Like, not only did he change music industry and give us so much music that we have today, but he changed people. He changed hearts by giving people like houses and cars and money and whatever, like leaving those anonymous tabs at the grocery store open for people who might not be able to finish and pay their bill. Like, Elvis was a human being who wanted to help people and who cared about people, who loved people, not just his fans, not just people who supported him, but people in general. He wanted to be somebody that people looked at and said, he changed my life. He gave me something meaningful and he impacted my life in a way that I'll always remember. And he's still doing that. Like, he worried that people would not remember who he was or that he wasn't doing enough for people. But like Elvis, if you could see us now, like, you have brought so much happiness and so much joy to people. And people who aren't Elvis fans, that's the part that they miss out on. And I think that that's the most important part of Elvis, was his human nature and his humanity, and Elvis as a human being, not just Elvis Presley, the international pop star. I'm gonna quote one more time from Sally's book just to end off the video. She said, even in death, Elvis is still doing what he set out to do, provide for his family and friends. Elvis has now been gone from this earth longer than he was here, yet he still provides. Elvis provides for Lisa Marie and her children. Elvis provides for his fans by giving them a place to gather and pay homage. Elvis provides for the city of Tupelo, having made the small town a destination for tourists from around the world as they travel to see his humble beginnings. Elvis provides for the city of Memphis as he brings hundreds of jobs to the city. And Elvis provides for me, and he provides for you. And whether that just be, you know, being a little positivity in your day, being a little mood boost, whether you listen to his music and just feel a little bit happier that day, or whether you just see these little signs throughout your day where you just feel like he's your like guardian angel watching over you, and like he's always there. And that is something that I can't say. It's so weird to people because it's just not felt about other people, like other entertainers, other people in history. How many other people can you say like, oh, I feel them with me on the daily. I feel them like in my heart, and I feel such a strong connection to them even though I've never met them. I feel like they're my friend even though I never met them. I just think people don't understand. Like Elvis said, you criticize what you don't understand, because people don't understand. People don't understand how people like me feel, or people like you feel as an Elvis like admirer, as an Elvis fan, whatever you want to call yourself. People just find it weird because it's something that isn't experienced by a lot of people. But how lucky are we that we experience that? We experience that love and that respect and that admiration for somebody who we see as a hero for us and someone who we look up to so much. How lucky are we to have that feeling and to be able to experience that throughout life. Yeah. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're weird for liking something or loving something or loving somebody, because there's always a reason. There's always a reason. You don't just love somebody because. You love somebody for who they are and for what they have brought into your life. And for us, Elvis has brought so much to us. And I'll never be able to thank him enough. So, yes. I hope that you're all doing well in your lives, and I am super happy that I got to sit down today and talk to you guys. So before I go, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and a thumbs down if you did not. And if you're watching this video on Instagram, make sure to follow me for more Let's Talk Elvis videos where we sit and chat about not only the amazing entertainer that he was, but the even more amazing human being that he was. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.